Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Kimberly Bryant with the Pop Culture Green Room. With the Pop Culture Green Room. Sorry about the little trip up.
You're good.
It's
You're
early in
good.
the
This
morning.
is
Hey, what
Blair
do you expect?
Bryant, the pop culture guru as well.
And y'all, guess what? We've got Andre Desir back with us, attorney from Philadelphia. Thank you so much for coming back. We're so happy to have you.
Kimberly, thank you for inviting me. Your sister, thank you for inviting me. It's Sunday, 9 a.m. on Mother's Day. I would, anybody listening who's a mom out there, I'd like to, wish you a happy Mother's Day. And I think about Tupac's "Dear Mama" all the time, right? Like,
That's right.
and even me, my mother, she paid, when me becoming a lawyer, I did a little late in life, and my mom, she paid for me to take the bar, and I failed it the first time.
Oh,
And she paid again for me to take it the second time. And if folks don't out there don't know, it's a very expensive endeavor. It's like $2,000 to take the bar exam, in
oh
fees
wow.
and cost, in like travel expenses. It's a 2 or 3 day exam, some places. And so like Texas is 2 days, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania was 3 days. And so you gotta have a hotel, or you have to take an 8 hour exam, a 6 hour exam for 3 days. And my mom paid for me to have that opportunity. And mothers all over the world are take care. We are indebted to them in so many ways. And so I want to shout out all the moms out there and say thank you, thank you to my mom and probably everyone else's.
Oh, that's awesome. Well,
Right.
thank
Oh
you
yeah.
so
So
much. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, happy Mother's Day because such a great way to kick it off. Because definitely for sure, our mom has helped us out with our financially with our because all of us, all of our degrees and school, colleges, even after college. So yeah, they definitely help us, give us a helping hand. So all right, so we are back. We're talking about Diddy. So of course, we all know that we've got an update. He is getting ready to go on trial, and they are getting witnesses and they're getting their jury together. And let's get started. So Blair's gonna go ahead and lead us into the first question, and then we're gonna just take it and roll from there.
so first question I want to ask is that it's like so the jury selection started and well, the process was supposed to be completed Friday, but it's actually going to be Monday tomorrow that they complete the whittle it down to their final 12. And so now that's down to the wire. How might the legal defense's arguments of mutual violence and Combs' past relationship with Cassie Ventura influence the influence the jury's perception of sex trafficking charges?
It's a fantastic question. I'd like to just take a step back. Last time I was on here, I advocated and indicated I think it's a great idea for folks to read the documents and get the news from the original source. So I provided, and there should be somewhere in the show notes, the indictments that the federal government have
Yes.
filed against Diddy. And so these are the formal written charges. So the government is like, here are the written, these are the what we are charging you with. And currently there are 5 charges. And each one of those charges have different defenses or each charge has requirements. You have it's called a scienter, or you have to meet these requirements in order to fulfill the charge and for this person to be convicted of this crime. And so he's being charged with racketeering. He's being charged with transporting someone for prostitution and sex, which is essentially sex trafficking. So that first charge, the racketeering conspiracy, that's basically running a criminal organization and enterprise. He's being charged with sex trafficking, which is taking someone and traveling them or forcing their movement across state lines or across places so that they can perform prostitution. And then the third charge is a little bit more nebulous. There's a third charge. Can you scroll down? I want to actually go to the section with the charge I think is a little bit more nebulous or a little harder.
Okay.
So this all of this is background, the Combs enterprise.
Okay,
You're going
got
to
it.
see the
Okay.
actual charges. They're going to be there's going to be like a victim one or victim two, which are specific people that are being that are the government has as witnesses or that a crime
Got
was
it.
uh, perpetrated against. Um, it's going to come up 1 second.
Okay. Right. There you go. Let's see.
So here it is. The sex trafficking, right? That is, that's one of the counts. So what we're looking at right now is this was filed in April. This is the third indictment. So the government filed one way back when this case started, but as the case has been going on, they've been updating the indictment as they got more news and information. And so this is the third version of the indictment, and this is the document from where everything stems from and
Um,
begins. Can you go down a little bit more? So
yeah,
that when the
sure.
case first started, it was 3 counts. And now it's 5 counts. So the
Mm,
trafficking, the transportation to engage in prostitution. Some people have an issue with this one. It's something called the Mann Act. It was used a lot against for racial, and it came around in 1910, the early 1920s. And the concept was
uh-huh.
it was a way to charge black people, black men specifically, with if you ever dated a white person and you traveled state lines with them, they would charge you with a Mann Act violation. And so it has racist roots and histories, but it is still a very much a criminal act on the book. And then
Wow.
yeah, so these are the charges against him. And then now, one other important update: he Diddy recently bought on Brian Steele to engage in his defense team. This was the attorney that went famous, I think, on social media for defending in Georgia. He had that case
Right.
with I forget the name that Brian Steele had defended. But anyway, it was a brilliant defense, and so he recently brought him in as part of his legal strategy and team. He has a full plethora of lawyers, the best of the best. He has an appellate lawyer, so one person on his team, their whole job see where there are decisions that can be appealed and create some appeals that could happen. He has people
Right.
who, like great orators for opening statements and closing statements. He just an overall complete defense strategy. And so it is a very, very, like, he has 5 or 6 lawyers on his team that are the best of the best. They own their own firms. Like, everyone's a named partner. It is a serious legal defense that he has mounted. Okay, that is all the background. We've looked at the actual charges against Diddy. We understand
Mhm.
who the players are. So he's being charged by the federal government. So that is the AUSA, the assistant U.S. attorneys. So these people represent the United States of America. They're it's not a state indictment. So they're not state level prosecutors. It's the federal government.
Got it.
And I
Okay.
mentioned before, like, they do not miss, right? Like, they have like 93,
Hmm.
94 conviction rate. Like,
You
they
did say
do,
that.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
this isn't, they don't go on fishing expeditions. They don't waste the government's resources. When they bring cases, they have people dead to rights. And so, it's not to say that people can't win or the government can't get it wrong. It is just the odds are not in your favor. Okay, so the
Right.
federal government on one side, Diddy on the other side. That the players, we understand the background. We've set the stage. Okay, now to go back to your question, how can the contributory violence, like a toxic, can you ask that again?
Yeah, just like how is it that how do you think the defense is going to like approach it with the mutual violence between him and Cassie, saying that they were both attacking each other? And how do you think it'll influence like this jury's perception of the sex trafficking charges?
Okay, so this is a jury trial, and one of the things I struggle with in my practice and that I work on is that a lot of the times people think that, like, that there is this definite right or definite wrong, like there is a universal right or a universal wrong. A lot of the times in these court cases and trials, it is perception is reality. You are being judged by a jury, right? These are 12 people whose opinion of events is what matters. And so it's hard for me to convey that to someone when they're like, "Oh, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right." And then sometimes I'm like, "You
Hmm.
might be right, but if the jury doesn't believe you, if the jury doesn't see it the same way that you do, you will still lose this case." And so it's important to recognize and understand that being right is not enough. It's about convincing a jury. That's what it
Right.
always boils down to. And if you can start from that position, is that I believe I can convince the jury, not that I am right, right? So those two things aren't necessarily the same. That's how you avoid being convicted or win your court cases, by convincing a jury. And so, it's risky because juries are fickle. Jury, no one knows what makes. I don't know if either of you, Blair, have you been on a jury by any chance?
You know what is actually just a good question that you brought it up. I was supposed to be, I was selected to be on one. For like it was like, gosh, when was it was in the fall of 2020. And it was my first time on jury duty, like jury duty. And I was thinking I was going to be okay, it's going to be something simple, like, maybe like personal injury, whatever. It actually ended up being for a second, first degree murder trial, the second degree murder trial, for like something that happened. And I believe the case was that it was really, I vaguely remember when it happened. Some guy was driving home from work late one night on New Year's Eve, and I think it was New Year's Eve, something like that, or Christmas Eve. And he saw somebody lying down by the side of the road, but apparently what they did, they tried to stage a robbery, and they got out of hand and they shot him and he died in the hospital. So he was basically shot him and killed himself. And it was like some young kids who were like, they weren't even like they were seniors, and like they were some high school age when it happened. And so I ended up being picked for that, and it was also giving me like bad PTSD because for the most part my best friend was murdered by her own brother. So yeah, exactly. So
Mm.
it's kind of like, and then having to be grilled from that from during like in a courtroom of like over like for probably about 80 people, because it's like there's about a big pool about 65 people, and then I ended up being one of the 14 people who were on a stand that they were actually looking at closely to some cheese. Whereas other people, everyone on the ground, like you probably understands better than I do. Where it's like there was like a big pool of people who were sitting out in the on the benches who were like backup people to select from, but I ended up being one of the 12. So I was kind of investigating about that. But so I kind of had like, it wasn't a pleasant experience by any means because of that whole thing. And then I was asked questions about it, and it just happened a few months prior. So it wasn't very pleasant at all by any means. And but yeah, so I definitely have experience with that part of it.
And were you selected for the jury or were you excused?
I was excused. Thankfully, the judge had sympathy for me and didn't want me to have to go through that.
And you bring up an excellent point about your own personal experiences coloring how you view the case, how you view the
Right.
defendants, how you view the charges, right? And so you are going to be someone who makes a decision on whether or not someone is convicted, and your personal experiences is what you bring to bear. Now, we in America value that, right? We value juries
Right.
who have personal experiences, finding that balance between people who aren't going to be unduly biased, who can judge fairly, who can dislike, who can weigh the evidence in front of them, and some kind maybe put their experiences in the back of their mind, but not dismiss them completely. Like we don't want robots. We want people with emotions and experiences and ideas to make these
Right.
decisions. But at the other end of that coin, you have people making these decisions, and people, as we know, are irrational, right? There are
Right.
reasons that they do things
Hmm.
that don't track rationality. With that being said, so the way that when you are charged with a crime, each one of these crimes in the criminal code, there are defenses for them. And the defense is an actual, it's also a written law that says, okay, if you're charged with this thing, like for instance, let's go with manslaughter. If you're charged with manslaughter, a defense to manslaughter is you know, protecting your home or your house. So if someone tries to break in and you fear for your life, and you kill them and murder them while they're trying to steal you or rob in your home, you
Hmm.
manslaughtered, you've caused someone to die. But your defense, meaning that the thing that will protect you from being convicted, is that you self-defense or protecting your castle, right? So there is a written law that's on the other side of the actual charge. So there's a criminal code that says if you do this thing, then you're guilty of committing this crime, and there's a sentence that matches it. Except for there's a
Hmm.
defense to that, which is also written down. And so what you've brought up is that mutual harm defense, which is saying, well, this was a relationship, it was toxic. There was, it was a cycle of violence perpetrated by each other on both parties. And so you can use that defense to mitigate or affect your charges. And so I think everyone's seen that video of him beating what's her name in the hallway. I don't
Cassie, yeah.
Cassie in the
Hmm.
hallway, and I would find it hard to believe that anyone would believe that it was a mutually the power dynamic was shared, or that he was also harmed by her, right? Like in any meaningful way.
Hmm.
And so while it is possible, I don't think it's probable.
Right, got it. Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so speaking of juries, I was also looking at because I noticed on TMZ they were talking about the prosecution team. And it looks like right now the whole prosecution team it's all made of females. Like, what do you think about that? Like that strategy?
I think it's clever. I think it's clever. I
Hmm.
do think it right. It's so the really I like to think of myself as a litigator. And the litigator, when
Right.
everybody's like, oh, when I tell somebody I'm a lawyer, like, oh, what type of lawyer do what type of law do you practice, right? Like,
Hmm.
it's hard for me to, I'm always like they're looking for like a discrete answer, like criminal law. I do
Hmm.
contracts, I do IP stuff or trademarks, right? Like they're looking for that discrete answer, but in reality, I don't have one for them because I view and think of myself as a litigator. I like to try cases. I like to, and it doesn't matter if
Right.
there's criminal, there's civil, probate is where I have the most experience and I've tried the most cases, but I like to stand up in court, make arguments, file briefs, file motions, raise defenses, make counterclaims, right? I'm a litigator. And so when thinking about how, uh, what it means to be a litigator, when you try a case, and especially a jury case, the best litigators, the best trial attorneys understand that everything they do from the moment they walk into the courtroom is about winning that case. And so who speaks to the jury, right, like if you are sympathetic or if the psychology behind getting some convincing someone to believe your evidence, there's a libraries of information about that, and this is one of those
Yes.
tactics. This is part of that psychology, is making sure that the people who present the case are sympathetic, right? We know that feelings matter,
Mhm.
presentation matters, and so by having women do this, it already sets the tone. It's a very clever strategy. And so it's a long-winded way to say that everything that you do in the court matters. The way that you talk to the judge, the way, how it's not just about who has the best evidence or putting on the best case. You got to be you have to have charisma. You have to be a showman. You have to sell the jury, and this is part of that strategy of building that. Like, this is their show that they're putting on, is by having an all woman team talk about sex trafficking and prostitution and a powerful man taking advantage of women who don't have power. And it is compelling, and is part, I think, of a compelling story.
Got it. Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, exactly. Yes. Because I know, like, there's also like one of the recent developments I've heard, like, with this whole trial going on, is that a key witness they can't get a hold of, or that they
Yeah.
feels unaccounted for. So, like, I mean, I can't. I think it might possibly be Cassie, but I'm not sure. Because I mean, I heard
So
that she that
no, go ahead.
oh yeah. So, let's but they said, like, who's like referred to key witness referred to as victim three, is, like, currently unaccounted for. And I do think, like, how kind of, like, what kind of impact do you think this might have, like, currently on a strategy for the prosecution?
So there again, all of these are allegations, right? Until in our
Mhm.
country, in our system of justice, or our court civil system or criminal system, you are innocent until proven guilty. And while there are charges against you, he is still an innocent person. And there are these allegations that Diddy is doing, like the witness test, like he is from prison trying to orchestrate, like the prosecutors have filed and told the judge
Mhm.
that he shouldn't get bail, or because he's in trying to intimidate witnesses. He's Folks are being contacted, and he's orchestrating a campaign of what he did or what he's being charged with, that racketeering, that criminal organization, like paying people, telling people to do things that are crimes, right? Like to intimidate someone, to coerce someone, to threaten someone with violence or some kind of reprisal for their behavior. And so there are allegations that from prison he is relentlessly trying to get to the witnesses and intimidate them, and again, all allegations, but at the same time, things come from somewhere, right? Like, they're not just made up or put out
Mhm.
into the from nowhere. And so yeah,
Right.
witness availability is going to be critical. Eyewitness testimony is going to be critical. It's very important that people show up and tell the truth and are available. And if they aren't, it only helps, right? Like, it's harder for the prosecution to make their case if witnesses
Right.
aren't available.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Because I was wondering about that whole thing. Because I heard of that there was a witness that disappeared, and I was like, how much of an impact is this going to make? And I was like, is it one of the people who sued, filed that lawsuit, everything? So that's I was just wondering. I'm like, could that be bad? Like for
So
the prosecution.
So Steele, we all saw Steele on Court TV when he was running the Young. I think it was a Young Thug. Was it Young Thug that he was
I
a
think
lawyer
it was
for?
Young Thug. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, we all saw that prosecution played out like because it was on Court TV. Everyone that
hmm
drama, people were tweeting about it. It was like live. So the Diddy
Right.
case is in not in state court, it's in federal court, and there is
hmm
no paparazzi or cameras allowed in the federal building. And so, well, they're allowed in the federal building. You're not allowed to like stream to the the internet the
Oh,
case.
okay, got it.
So all criminal cases are open to the public unless they're like involving
Okay.
minors or they're very small like terrorist national security implications, but mostly the courts are available and open to the public. And what that means is you can walk in at any day to any courtroom and just sit your plop your butt there and watch any case unless it's
hmm
sealed, and in which case they will instruct you that it's sealed. The Diddy case isn't sealed, but the press is in the room and they're live tweeting and they're reporting and they're you see the sketches drawn by folks, and so you won't get that live sensational TV coverage that we've
Right.
grown accustomed to. But I've provided you, and you probably should put it in the show notes. City Press has been doing this for decades in New York City. They are a trusted courtroom reporter, meaning that every single day they're in the courtroom, they're tweeting
Right.
or reporting what is going on in the courtroom. And so we won't have that live press coverage, but in the sense that we won't be seeing it. But there are reporters in the room, like telling us what the judge is saying, what the prosecutor is saying, and so that's going to be very, very helpful for us to understand what is happening, because a lot of the times the documents don't give a full story or detail of events.
Right, which is very true. And it's like, and the hard part for me is just like the not getting like you're not getting the actual footage, which of course, it sensationalizes things like a lot more. But it's just but yeah, that part's fascinating for me. So what are your thoughts? Because I know that I heard that Diddy was like his hair's like white and like he looks like almost like disheveled. Do you think that's like a play from the defense, like for him to look like that, or do you think that's just like all of his emotions? Like, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I want to say yes because I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that everything that they do is intentional, that nothing that they do is
hmm
not intentional, right? And so even the look that he presents in court is intentional. I don't know if you watch. There was yeah, I watched a lot of courtroom dramas, and yeah, I would think it's intentional. I hope it's intentional. If it's not intentional,
Right.
then I my
hmm
esteem or my guesstimation of his defense counsel has dropped if that is not an intentional play to make him look more sympathetic. I don't know if I try criminal cases, but I don't do like
hmm
anything. I would never do anything that carries a life sentence. So if he is found guilty, he will be he can face life in prison. And so I'm doing like DUIs. I'm doing a few like
Right.
simple assaults at like a bar fight kind of thing, right? I'm
Uh-huh.
not doing things that carry these lengthy prison sentences because, in my opinion, you should have experts. You should have people who've done this 100 times and know the system in and out, right? And I haven't done a murder case, and I probably won't ever do a murder case. And so
Right.
I hope it's intentional because I know his lawyers know
hmm
what they're doing. And so I think it's intentional that he looks disheveled.
Got it. Yeah, for sure. It's oh, like I'm still in shock. I'm still in shock that this actually made it to trial, because I honestly thought that this was all gonna go like just under wraps. And even like trying to even go back, like what even I'm trying to go back to the very beginning. What even sparked all this to start off with to make it a federal case? Was it the racketeering? Or that they
Well, yeah, that's part of it. It's a criminal, like, right, because he's a celebrity, and that
Mhm.
he's not stationed in like just one place, like he's not just in, Florida or New York City or Tallahassee, right? He's flying and he has homes in multiple places.
Right.
That is part of why, right? Like he's throwing parties in Miami, like
hmm
because of his celebrity, the allegations are that he has used his influence, his network to get away with these nefarious things. So he has these are again just the allegations. He has
Right.
paid people to take someone on a flight and like not leave their side, right?
hmm
Like that kind of thing. And so
Oh yeah, that's true.
I'm
Yeah.
going to the
Okay.
VMAs here, and I
hmm
want this person that I've sex trafficked available to me, and so I will transport them to be available to me. These are the allegations that he has paid hotel staff, right? Like we know
hmm
that Sierra situation, like used his influence. And so that's what makes it federal, is that all of these things has happened across the country, right? They're not set in one place
Right.
or time, and they involve people from different jurisdictions and places, right? So people from California,
Hmm.
people from New York, people from Florida,
Yeah.
people from Texas, right? So it is, that is
Hmm.
what makes it federal. And to say that what started it, there was a raid on his home a while back. So the FBI had raided his California home, and I'm assuming that the charges and all of this stems from the evidence or the materials that they found. And
Hmm.
a lot of allegations have been brewing in the shadows, and eventually they decided to investigate those allegations, and that's where all it stems from, is that the FBI got some tips. People were saying things, and then they started investigating, and they uncovered all this material, and they bought what they uncovered, the FBI to the AUSAs, and they were like, yeah, we have enough to file charges, and they did.
I got
Speaking
it.
of
Yeah.
Well,
And then
FBI,
also,
there's also a grand jury involvement to this. And what that means is when the prosecutors bought the charges, they bring them to a grand jury, which is another kind of panel of your peers, another jury segment. And so they present all the evidence to the grand jury, and the grand jury decides whether or not there is sufficient evidence to bring charges, right? Because the government doesn't go on fishing expeditions. And so this was it's a kind of way to rein in or control prosecutorial power, because prosecutors have a lot of authority. They can bring a charge against someone. They can charge you with murder. They can charge you with 10 charges. They can charge you with whatever they want. And so a way to rein that in, or to control it, or to put some safety measures or parameters around it, is a grand jury, which is another jury impaneled. These are people who common everyday workers, people who work at
mhm.
subways, right? People who bus drivers, I've been on a grand jury, other lawyers. And so the idea is they show you and present evidence. It's like a mini case or a mini trial. And then your grand jury decides, yep, there's enough there to bring charges, or there's not enough there to bring charges. And so it's kind of a fairness in the system, in that, like, it wasn't one
Mhm.
person derailing, like, because imagine if there was one prosecutor who decided to bring, to create this kind of media there's like 10 Diddy shows, right? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
HBO has one,
Yeah. Oh,
Hulu
yeah.
has one, Netflix has one. There's Diddy shows
Mhm.
across everybody got a
You're
show on Diddy
right.
now,
Uh-huh.
right?
Tubi.
And
Mhm.
could you imagine if one prosecutor had the ability to just derail someone? Diddy's been he's been denied bail, and he's been held in prison for 7 months. Could you imagine if one person could have the, like, just bring charges and derail someone's life and incarcerate them for 7 months, just because that one person believed something, as opposed to like 20 people on a grand jury? And so that
Right.
there is
Yeah.
some safety metrics in the system.
Got it. And now I wanted to ask you too. So, of course, we're all aware about the Tony Busby like lawsuits or whatever that's going on. So, like, so for me, I feel like that my personal opinion. I feel like that's kind of like a fishing expedition. I don't know. Like, do you, do you feel like that's gonna have like any impact with the case or no? No. Okay, I
No,
don't
the
think so.
Busby stuff aren't. A lot of them were. Some of the civil cases were settled. Not a lot of them. Some of them were settled. Some of them there's some
Uh,
merit to. Some of them involve some of these
oh.
shenanigans. Right. The Busby, he's getting a bad rap, man. He needs. He needs. I
Mm.
think, like, it feels like he's doubling down on, like bringing more frivolous charges against people. When I say frivolous, I mean they were actually thrown out in that way, or withdrawn,
Oh,
or
got it.
right. Like, I
Okay.
just mean that the Busby stuff is concerning, because it's given, I think, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, lawyer's a bad name, right? It seems like we're just
Mhm.
trying to drag people's name, Jay-Z's name, through the mud, right? Like, we're not, when there are people
Right.
who have actual harm and have suffered at the hands of, in my opinion, these very powerful men. And so, like, he's not helping these people's causes, right? Because
Mhm.
he's trying to sensationalize himself. It's all about his name, in my opinion. There's a lot of grandstanding. It's a lot of showmanship, when there's like real harm for some folks. And yeah, some people getting money, like some of these lawsuits he brings settles.
Mhm.
And I do think that maybe a lesser celebrities, when he brings cases against them, right, they're folded. And so I don't think it's going to help. It's clear, and more charges of him doing this is only going to paint him in a negative light, right? And when I mean
Yeah.
charges, I mean civil suits. Someone showing up in civil court and saying, "I want some money for this trauma or whatever I experienced." It's not going. It's just
Mhm.
building on a whole kind of plethora of evidence that you are this person who's committed a
Yeah.
racketeering, like you've been running a criminal enterprise for decades, right? Like, it's more evidence to that effect. So it's not going to help Diddy.
Mhm.
The fact that they get withdrawn, right, that they show up to be that don't have any merit, are could be helpful, right? His defense team could bring up, look, and we even, they withdrew that Tony Busby withdrew his claim 2 months ago. This is more of that. This is more of that. And so they,
Right.
it could
Yeah.
go either way, but it is a distraction. Mostly, there are some people who he's defended who have real claims and real harm, and there are some people who maybe he should have investigated, should have done a little bit more investigational with.
I was, 'cause I had been meaning to ask you about that question. Even just sometimes I would randomly think of it, and I was like, I want to ask Andre like what he thinks about that because I was feeling like it could almost like help or hurt, but then I almost felt like it's just like how much like accuracy and like merit is there to all this. So I always wanted to ask you about that, your insight.
So when Kimberly, you and I hope I have your consent to share a little bit of our history, right? You
Yeah,
came
sure.
to me with a legal issue, right? You're like, Andre, I have
Hmm.
this legal issue. And part of that consult or that conversation is me deciding to be your champion or to take on your cause because I believe there's merit to it, or I think there's a case there, right? So I don't,
Right.
again, we're not robots and we are trained to have discernment, even lawyers too. Like the clients that we choose to take and the cases that we choose to bring, it is a reflection of us in our moral compass, right? Like I
Hmm.
chose to bring this case and challenge or fight for you on your behalf because I believe
Right.
in your cause, because there's something that resonates with me, that I believe that justice is needed, or that you have a case, or that you have a defense, that the thing you're being charged with isn't true, or that your neighbor suing you is wrong, or like that you should be defended. And so we put our imprimatur or our stamp or our approval on any case that we bring in, and that's part of it, right? And so that
Right.
that's the insight I wanted to share, is that when I sit down and I talk with a client, right, and I'm listening to them and I'm listening to their story, I'm gauging whether or not I want to be a part of this. That's part of my process. This person is not telling, I feel like they're not telling me the whole truth, or they're always downplaying the things they've done poorly. They're not taking accountability. I'm like, I'm not taking this person on as a client, or like, I feel like I am taking this person on as a client. My name and my reputation is going to be attached to this thing. And I'm okay with that. That's part of that osmosis.
Right, got it. That's awesome. Thank you so much. We're gonna go ahead and get ready to wrap up here, but where can everyone find you? Just go ahead and like leave us like your information so that way if you want to need some like legal
Yeah,
advice or
definitely.
just want to give follow
Yeah,
you,
I'm
support.
very proud and happy to say that. So I just updated my website. I have a marketing team and
Perfect.
they're fabulous, and I really like my new website. So I shared with you the link if you want to put it in the show notes. My name of my firm
Absolutely.
is Vexillum Law. I know it's a bit, I like it a lot. Vexillum is a Latin for standard bearer. It's the giant flags the Roman army used to carry, that they're really long poles and you could see them for really far
Oh,
out. And so the concept is a vexillum represents a Roman legion or army, and I represent my clients. And so I like the concept. So Vexillum Law, that's VEXILLUM law.com. That's my website. You'll find me there. I'm on Twitter. Call me being my tweets are my own personal thoughts and opinions, not legal advice, right? And so always got to be clear, like, I'm like,
right,
oh
for
girl, you
sure.
should have ran. Like, that's not legal advice. I'm just tweeting.
Right. Don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, I'm in Pennsylvania. I also do a little bit of light litigation in New York. And so, yeah, that's where you can find me. I want to give a shout out to Sinners. I've watched that recently. I think that movie is phenomenal, fantastic. Cannot say enough
Awesome.
great things about it. Coogler is a genius, a mad genius, and I just
He
watched it last
is.
week and I thought it was fabulous.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, thank you for your
Yes,
insight
always
because
a
we're actually
pleasure.
going to talk about sinners. That's one of the next things we're going to talk about in the next podcast. So, oh
Oh man,
yeah.
I should
So,
have been
okay.
off of
Hey,
that one. I got
if you
so
want to
many
talk about
thoughts.
sinners, hey,
No, no.
yeah,
it was really, really well done. I will like to leave people off with this last thought about the Diddy trial. There's a lot of sensationalism, a lot of folks are involved. I would ask people to be kind. There are, this is someone's life and livelihood at stake. There are a lot of people that this is high emotions, and there are a lot of individuals involved, and this is going to be going on for a while, right? Like there's going to be appeals.
right.
This isn't something that's going to be over and done with in short order. And be kind to folks. You don't know who has histories of SA, which is sexual assault, or who might You never know when you're like, oh, Diddy didn't do it. This is a witch hunt against black men, and they're coming for the black moguls, and right. You never know when you're, or on the other side of that, when you're like, oh, he's guilty and he did it and he hurt all these people, right? On the, people I think are quick to judgment when you should be slow to judge and quick to listen and be compassionate. This is tough for everyone involved. There's no winners
Right.
here. There's only losers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. That
Yes, thank
concludes
you
us,
so much,
y'all.
Dana.
Yes, thank you. So we'll go ahead and get that wrapped up. That concludes us for the pop culture green room for our ups. If I can talk, sorry, y'all didn't have coffee yet this morning. And that does it for our update. And again, we thank Andre Desir for joining us. And y'all have a great weekend and enjoy.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Till next time.